Hello there. Let's do a bit of military history. Now, I'm partial to knives, right? I've been around knives since I was a child. I still have my not the Victorinox, the what is it? A Wenger. No, this got chewed on by my dog when she was young, teething, right? And it's still as useful as ever. I used this earlier today to change a light switch. Well, yesterday, really. Now I had myself a very nice, it was a Benchmade, uh, Bushcrafter EOD. And it has very thick spine on it, so it's a survival knife, really. And it was a special edition, so, it's just sharp enough and big enough that you could chop blocks of C4, and it's stainless steel SV30 Sibbert. So that you could demagnetize it and actually probe um, mines and whatnot, or IEDs if that was the case. And it was obviously strong enough to cut wires easily. But I gave that to someone in need because I had this. I bought this on Manitoulin Island. And I use this in some of my earliest videos on YouTube here. And I was very happy to have this, a Damascus steel blade. With notches, stylistic notches. You see this nice solid rosewood, well, it's like a hardwood candle. But obviously, you see the problem here was, they didn't quench it properly. And neither is this a full tang, right? It's not a full. What they did is this was hot, and it was jammed in there unceremoniously. Now this blade was very good. I liked it a lot. It's just like a small kukri, right, like that. Very well balanced. And I was using it again in the earlier videos. If you've seen it, the foot and knife work in my Dobok, and obviously, right, not hurting myself in the process, showing a little bit of dexterity with knives. Because here's the thing: if I'm not going to be allowed to have guns, I'm going to buy myself a knife. And the thing is that the sharpest knife is the safest. And the knife that cuts is the knife that saves. And it's never been more important in the history of the military since the inception of the Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife to have something like that on your person, especially with with Kevlar and ceramic plates, because of the point of contact is very, very fine tip that can pierce right through Kevlar, no problem at all. You would just you wouldn't even notice it. Now this knife here, this is counterfeit. This is counterfeit. You see something like this? It's counterfeit, poor quality. I was sold promised by appearance of quality and durability, but it sure as hell ain't Sheffield steel. Okay, so I got this. It's off Predator Human. It's a Canadian website. It's a text. It's the Survival. Copyright 1999 by William L. Cassidy. All rights reserved. In February 1977, Lieutenant Colonel William Edward Fairbairn's son, Major John E. Fairbairn, OBE, presented me with an unpublished document on the subject of knife fighting. This document was written by his father in 1955. It takes the form of a typewritten manuscript with numerous holographic notes in Lieutenant Colonel Fairbairn's own hand. It was never titled, nor was it ever completed. In 1975, I had written a book entitled Complete Book of Knife Fighting, wherein I made a mention of Lieutenant Colonel Fairbairn. Accordingly, his son requested that I edit, revise, and rewrite the manuscripts for publication. Revision and rewriting was to be accomplished on the basis of instruction in the form and style of knife fighting covered in the manuscript, together with such other materials that I deemed useful. Major Fairbairn gave me such instruction in sessions at his home. Holy shit. Pronouncing himself satisfied with the result, he next presented me with his father's personal edged weapons, prototypes, and service revolver, as well as his father's personal papers. That's a huge honor. It really is. Because Fairbairn was lethal, right? He was fucking lethal. You didn't ever piss that man off. Because Fairbairn, where did Fairbairn learn how to knife fight? Street fighting. British soldier and police officer. Shanghai. So you remember I talked about the art talk with the tiger. I'll bring that over again. I just wanted to stand still here. Come on. Have to lay it flat. So here's the thing, is that when you're in CQB, everyone thinks that, it's just going to be the rifle, it's going to be the pistol that wins. But it ain't. It really ain't. Now, there's other connections to Camp X. In Whitby, Ontario. So I might have to, I think I'd want to visit here. Let's see where it is on. There's a memorial here. There's Camp X FRC, Camp X Consulting. So this is right on. It's obviously it's east of Toronto, closer to Oshawa. I have family connection to Oshawa. And of course, if you know me, I was born in the area. So having a Fairbairn Sykes is my birthright. Any objections to this? I would have to say it's for historical purposes. But I better know how to use it. The Ontario Regiment Museum at the airport. Now, I've been to the airport here in Oshawa. And as an anecdote, there was an Antonov 2 there. And of course, the Antonov 2 was one of the aircrafts de Vende Boy would be RCAS. How are you? Anyways, Antonov 2 was one of the aircraft that was, well, the aircraft that we were that was to be ferried over to Greenland for the P-38 expedition in 2017. But it didn't work out. You know, that aircraft was, and the crew were quite cranky. And obviously, I'd be cranky if I was part of that crew too. You know, flying that aircraft over, unreliable, unproven aircraft from New York. And then the whole process with the Americans was embarrassing. You know, the fact that I had, you know, this whole rigmarole, and then the justification of proof that I was part of an expedition, which may or may not have been sponsored, if not affiliated with the U.S. Air Force, because of the MIA POW efforts with the Grumman Ducks that were sent out over Greenland to find the lost squadron, right? But then they ditched into the water or something close to like the edge of the ice shelf. So this is why I get pissed off when I start figuring out that there's been a lot of people messing with my life. Yeah. Stilettos. Havoc works. Stilettos serve only one purpose, and that's to penetrate. Now, those of you who are familiar, as I shall demonstrate, right? So if you're coming up behind someone, knee behind the knee, pull the head back, stab it right in here. And then knuckle. There's a pressure point right here, right? So you got to be careful that Buddy Boy don't bite your fucking fingers off. So it's better just to, and by the time you do it in one motion, you get it down pat. He'll drown in his own blood before he bites your finger off. Now, there isn't much more to say. You know, the Fairbairn Sykes were never really fancy knives, right? They're just, the handles are pure steel. So there is a throwing capacity to it, you know. And I might purchase more than one to to refine my skills in such a way and be a little bit more than just a mascot for the silent professionals. Because I work in the shadows in some ways too. I'm always thinking of what is my next piece of art? How effective can I make it? And what's the target, right? What emotion do I want to evoke? Everybody thinks that you need a black belt in order to be deadly, but you don't. So, I don't know if there's much more that I really want to talk about. Dangerous Dan. Eric Sykes. Now, I imagine the SAS is well versed in this because it's part of their logo, right? And again, this is going to go to Ken Softcom. And here's the thing, if we don't appreciate life and what it takes to guard life, then we bleed out through our asshole. That is all. I expect you, as the viewer, at this moment to go and do a bit more research. Because Canadians are not as polite as you think we are.